yeah, and I mean, it may be more, I mean, depending on what I got going on during the day, but
yeah.
I think, but I think with a podcast, like right now, we're two guys sitting, we're sharing, we're exchanging ideas and information. It's inherently more meaningful than looking at a screen and, you know, exchanging likes for serotonin, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and we, you know, some days we don't talk about anything. We just bullshit. We talk about the dumb jokes that we're working on or whatever, or, you know, what we like about Christmas. You know, it's not always like great stuff. It's not always great content, but at least we're exercising our brains. We're talking. We're being friends. You know, I mean, this is what friends do, anyways. We just happen to be recording it. Right?
Yeah. Well, and
I think that's more meaningful than Facebook.
I don't know about you, as far as like people listening to the podcast and giving you any feedback. But
my friend Tiffany listened to it on her way down. She went to. Are you familiar with the Guys We Fuck podcast? Or Guys We Fucked?
Okay, that was.
Have you never heard that?
I've heard of the name, but the way you rolled into it. Have you heard of the Guys We Fucked? You and Tiffany, but no, I'm familiar with the name. Go on.
So her and some friends were on their way down. I guess they were doing like a live tour. You know, like they're both comedians. And so they were doing,
Tiffany is one of the girls on the podcast.
No. I think their names are Corinne and Kimberly.
Okay,
and they're comics out in New York. Tiffany is a friend of mine. She lives outside of Iowa City. I'm not going to tell you guys where she lives. The six people
because
that live.
that would be an invasion of privacy.
But she lives in the area
For sure.
There was a show down in St. Louis, and so they had like a 5-hour drive or something. And so they listened to their podcast and they listened to our podcast. And the only thing she told me was that, because like we're internet friends, right?
Yeah.
It's another weird phenomenon, but we won't get into that. But we are internet friends, and she told me, and I was like, oh shit, I hate the way my voice sounds. And she's like, no, we all agree that it's a good voice. And I was like, okay, you're probably listening to Brandon, but that's fine. But I've never, actually, nobody's ever told me like, oh, I like the podcast. Like, just whatever I read on our Facebook page.
Yeah. Well,
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're fine. I've received feedback though from people in person that are too big of pussies to say anything online. No, that was sarcasm. But no, I've heard from people in person that are like, you know, your guys' podcast, your show, I don't understand it. I'm like, okay, what's not to understand?
Right.
And they're like, you guys don't really have it's not like Conan O'Brien or Jimmy Kimmel where they have a format and you guys open with some news and then you have a guest and then you talk and blah blah blah. You just kind of have a conversation. It's like, yeah,
that's what a podcast is,
right? I don't know. I know that other podcasts have formats and they keep it like a show. But the thing that appealed to me about podcasting was it was a reason to have a conversation. You know, I would never be interested in doing a podcast by myself, just because I don't feel myself to be that that important that people should be like, you need to listen to my thoughts and my thoughts alone.
Sure.
You know, I like the aspect of sitting in a room with a person and going over like, hey, what's going through your head? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And just kind of I don't know, man. Like I work third shift,
right?
And I get home and I sleep, and then when I wake up, I pick up my babies and I bring my babies home, and then after a couple hours, they go to bed, and I try and get a nap in before I go back in for third shift. Yeah. And then my nights off are weird nights that, you know, like
that's gonna suck.
Yeah, like I'm off Sunday night, so it's not like I can call people up and be like, on a 3-day weekend, I might be able to get people to go out with me and be like, hey, let's tear up the town on a Sunday night. Right. But other weeks, or most of the other weeks, it's like, no, this is the Lord's Day. I got to go back to work tomorrow. I'm not doing shit.
Yeah.
So I'm going out on the town Sunday night with one of my buddies, because he's got a weird schedule also.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. I mean,
well, I think, here the thing about our podcast is, you're right, we don't have a format. When you tune in, if you listen to us, you don't know what you're going to hear in that episode. That's the truth. But if you find either myself or Brandon or both of us interesting enough, then you're hoping at some point they're going to say something that either I'm going to relate to or I'm going to laugh at or whatever. And that's what I love about podcasting is that we obviously have a connection. We're both comedians. I think we think similarly on a lot of issues. And what I hope in the podcast is that somebody may listen and be like, oh yeah, these guys, have something of value to offer the world. Yeah. So I'm going to listen to it. But I think there's other podcasts that are I don't think Joe Rogan ever, he just talks about what's on his mind that day. Sometimes for 3 hours, and people rave about it. They think Joe, and I'm not saying anything bad or good about Joe. I don't really know him that well. I know that he's a martial arts enthusiast and he works out and he loves weed and psychedelics. And he's a very interesting dude. Yeah,
he's a comedian. Started off as a comedian and all that. Yeah. But really the difference.
But do they have a format where they're we're going to read the news and then we're going to talk MMA for 20 minutes and then we're going to, no, I don't think so.
He has
guests on, and
he has different guests from different walks of life, different, I guess, shades of entertainment or entertainment.
Right?
Actors, directors, scientists, activists, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, the only difference between us and him is that he's successful and well known.
Yeah, and
we're just kind of two dudes from the Quad Cities trying to make it.
Right. So. Real quick, because we're kind of running low on time at this point.
Yeah.
I just gotta talk about this premise that I thought of this morning. Here's the thing. Speaking of the premise,
real quick though,
go
to finish the last subject.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Let this be.
I was done with the last subject.
Okay, right. Well, with that, the people out there that feel like they never really talk of anything that I'm interested in, or they lack substance or whatever. Let this be an invitation for you guys to send in your questions, comments, or concerns. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to talk about, what you would like to hear our opinions on, and we'll talk about it. Other than that, or otherwise, we're going to sit here and conversate about the fact that my cat threw up on the carpet, and the fact that we're better than you for getting off Facebook.
For 3 days.
Yeah.
I posted this on Facebook. I got 16 likes already. So,
shit.
And 1 share.
Girl, get it.
But what I was going to say about Joe Rogan is he has a line of supplements called On It.
Hell yeah.
And one of the things that he sells is something called nootropics. Are you familiar?
I've heard of it.
So nootropics is a fancy word for what people call cognitive enhancers. So they're supplements that help with memory, focus, anxiety, anything that will
your brain
interrupt. Right, anything that will interrupt your brain from working at its full capacity or best capacity, or whatever you want to say. So I take his brand of nootropics, and this morning I went and got a workout in, and then have you ever heard that saying? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Mm-hmm.
That's a dumb saying. How can you miss something you don't take?
Well, I don't know. I guess if it didn't happen, you could count it as a miss.
No, you can't.
I mean, maybe you're saying it weird.
I just think like if I didn't take a shot, I didn't miss a shot. I just didn't take a shot.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You never see it.
I'm deep as fuck, dude.
You never see in the NBA stats Frank Wilkerson has missed 200 shots tonight. I've been on the bench the whole night, man. Right. Yep, but you haven't.
Hey, LeBron, you know when you passed the ball and somebody else scored? How'd that feel to miss that shot, buddy?
Right. I've been on the bench the whole night. Yep, but in that time, you could have shot 200 times, and by now you've missed all of it.
And we're being generous.
We're being nice about this shit. You're fucking up.
I don't know. Here's another thought I had. Did you realize that you can rename your cat as many times as you want?
Fuck yeah.
It literally doesn't matter.
I abuse that power.
Do you?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I call your cats anything I want.
Right. Every day the name of my cats change, and they're just like, which one of us is Funky Winkerbean? Like, man.
You think they think that?
Oh, hell yeah. Because I was, Funky, why aren't you responding? It's like, because yesterday my name was Biscuit, man.
Right.
Fucking stick with one.
Oh, boy. What's another... Sorry, man. Here is the cool thing about being off Facebook is my brain, I was just like, oh, I want to think about jokes more because that's what comedians do, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, and so instead of like worrying about like what dumb like Facebook joke I was gonna put on Facebook, I was like actually writing real jokes, which is better. Here's one that I think this is like one that I think works for both Facebook but the next open mic I do, I'm gonna try this. The law of attraction, simply put, states that you get what you put into the universe. Which sounds like horseshit, but since parking garage stairs suck, probably explains why so many homeless people piss in them.
True.
You know?
Very true. There's a lot of homeless urine in there.
Too much, really. If we're being honest.
Right. They're turning those things into homeless urine water fountains. No, so tonight, the day that we're recording this is the day before the night of the Andrew WK show. In Maquoketa. That's tonight. And we are sending one lucky listener with 2 tickets. Hopefully they found a date for it. Mr. Chris Schlichting. Hopefully he found a date to go with him to the show tonight. Congratulations, sir. I know on the last episode we interviewed him and talked to him about it, but just wanted to re-put that out there in the cosmos.
Right.
That we are good people and we deserve good things because we're giving stuff away. Other than that, if just as long as we don't get struck down by lightning, I'm okay.
Yeah, and as long as our podcast isn't removed from the air it shouldn't be removed ever. There's no good reason to remove our podcast.
Right.
We don't promote nefarious things. Yeah.
All I'm saying is we've done something nice. We'd like to pat ourselves on the back. Don't need a Maserati dropped off or anything like that.
Well, if it happens, a Maserati.
Right. If it happens, we'll accept it. But just a little reminder that we're good people.
We are good people.
You looked surprised by that. Like, we are, aren't we?
Well, it's one of those things where you're like, I don't hear that a lot. But man, you are correct.
Well,
I like to hear that.
And that's the other thing. On the other side of that coin, we're living in an age where all anybody hears now is the negative. You know, you go.
That was a big reason for me to get off Facebook. Is that it was just like everything seemed to be like, this sucks, you suck. Why are you being so positive? I'm like, dude, I can't fucking take.
Yeah.
Like I can't. It's hard to be attacked for being who you are anyways, but especially when you're trying to like put good out into the world and people are like, I don't believe it or it's fake.
God, or you're so cheerful.
You're like,
why is that a problem?
And I don't want to be. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like, oh, you're too happy and it's unbelievable, and then I'm just like, fuck off. Like I don't want to be that guy, but fuck off. You know? Yeah.
Well, and that kind of scales into other stuff too. Like whenever I see an app on like the Google Play Store or something like that, and I go check it out, the first thing I do, just as it's ingrained in me now, is I go and I find the negative reviews.
Right.
Just to be like, do I really want this? Or I don't sit there and go through the positive reviews and this person said this was the best. Just because in my brain I'm like, well, half those reviews were paid off anyway. They got a little bit extra to go on there and leave a positive review or whatever. Blah, blah, blah. I can't believe that something would be positive and be genuine. I go immediately for the negative and think that's got to be genuine because it's negative. Like no, that should not be how you live your life.
Yeah. And
for a lot of the days that I was on Facebook and like lived by the Facebook sword, that's how it felt for me. It's like I didn't give a shit that 8 people liked my picture or liked my status or thought it was hilarious or commented below like, you're so fucking funny, or you're so nice, or your babies are